So yeah, hello everyone. My name is ToolSin, and welcome to the CNFT.tools Discord server. I'm here for a highly awaited AMA with Joshua Hoffine from the Hoffine Horror Society, who's rather well known for being the father of modern horror photography. And we also have Justin from his technical team with us as well.
Hi there. Thanks for having us.
It is definitely a pleasure. So, I mean, usually I kind of start out these things asking a little bit about yourself and how you got into NFTs and stuff, though I think you've had a slightly different route than most.
Well, I've been making horror photographs for almost 20 years. So that part was already up and running. Once NFTs started making headlines, I was definitely curious about all of this. And one of my friends, Justin JPEG, who's actually helped me with my projects for years, was really involved in Cardano. And so he was probably the 20th person to suggest I look at NFTs, but he was the first person that had a plan as to how to approach it. And so he kind of took me under his wing and we got the project set up on Cardano. And so far, it's going beautifully.
So, Justin, how did you get involved in NFTs and Cardano and Joshua as well, I guess?
Yeah, well, let me start with Josh. Josh I met in 2009. So we've known each other for over a decade. And like anybody, I think, who meets Josh, he's been creating work since 2003. So his work certainly, precedes him. And you see it and you're just immediately captivated and just wonder how can somebody create something so horrifying and so beautiful at the same time? And so, um, we met through a mutual friend of mine, of ours, and pretty much immediately, we both love horror films. We love the psychology of horror, and I wanted to help out however I could. And so we collaborated on a massive project called Last Stand, which was just one of those massive zombie photos where the zombies are closing in on a central protagonist. And I was really kind of well versed in Kickstarter, so I helped him raise a pretty decent chunk of change for that photo because the type of resources that go into all these photos. I mean, you're talking about a ton of time, months of planning, and for that particular photo, there was a ton of prosthetics and talent that needed to kind of come to bear. So we worked on that, and we worked on other projects as well. And I got into Cardano right around this time last year. I was really enamored with the community, love the Cardano community, think it's by far the best community for NFTs there is. And, I've been collecting since last May. So I've been part of Cardano Warriors and Unsigs and Space Buds and Clay Nation and, just you name the project, I'm in the server and I've collected it. So I saw a really, really great path for somebody like Josh. And whereas with Ethereum, you'd have kind of like you're kind of lost in a sea of other projects. On Cardano, you got an opportunity to really make a mark. So talked with him. He really enjoyed it. He also liked the idea that it was proof of stake, not proof of work. So it was much more environmentally conscious. And
Yeah.
we got going on planning around October last year.
Yeah, I mean, as much as the space on Cardano has been around for what just over a year now, there's certainly been nothing quite like this come anywhere near, to be honest. And in a world where there's 150 different apes and punks and whatever, it's rather refreshing to see something so very different from the norm.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't really
Yeah.
fit in anywhere, so I just barge my way into every space.
Well, from a photographic standpoint, I mean, like that was actually one thing that I was really, obviously Josh has these amazing photos, right? And I would say that there have been some photographers like Jason Mateus, might be pronouncing that correctly, and Ali Illustrated. who I think have done a good job of creating a space and a niche for fine art photography in Cardano, but it really is just a niche. And what my plan was to do is like, well, why don't we try and really create a um, project that is definitely focused on um, the collectors, and that's what we're doing with this, starting with the founders key drop that we're going to be doing here pretty soon, and we're going to actually announce the mint date today, the mint dates. So that's very cool. A little alpha for you guys.
So, how long has this project been in development then? I mean, aside from
The
all the
NFT,
previous stuff, like, how long since you thought, okay, we're going to go for it on Cardano?
man, once Justin brought it up in October, we were pretty much off and running. We started having meetings right away about how to organize it because he was very, I guess, persuasive in the notion that rather than just putting up a one for one art sale, like I might have done with Super Rare on Ethereum if I hadn't met Justin, he had this whole project that would build a community that would be like a year-long season, and that if you were part of this society, you would have all sorts of reasons to stick around and keep coming back. And I really like the idea of forming a horror society in a space where horror was still underrepresented, which might be why there's less accents on photography and more on horror. But according to like academic studies in horror, almost 50% of any population will assign themselves as horror fans. And so even though I knew there may be very few people on Cardano already familiar with my work, I walked in with a certainty that at least 50% of the people in this space would like my work if they were exposed to it. So we just thought, if you could create a space just for horror fans, this could be a really cool community that could thrive, that could keep going beyond just a simple single mint.
Yeah, I mean, I always think it's a really good way for artists to get closer to their audience as well. Whether
Yeah,
it's through selling art, or being able to interact with them directly through events in Discord or Twitter or
Yep.
whatever else you're doing. And
yeah,
Community is
absolutely.
key. Yeah, community is really key. I mean, I've been helping build communities in one form or another for, since like 2004. So between blogging and Facebook and Twitter, being in on those communities and those platforms really, really early on, and that's what really, you know, attracted me to Cardano. Again, I could recognize very, very quickly that's a really, really strong community, and really, really vocal and really, really supportive. And once Josh saw that too, he agreed, like, this is the place to be.
You
yeah,
know, Justin is like that in real life too, not just online, but in Kansas City where I live. He is either the founder or on the board of every film society and film group in Kansas City. So he really is a well-connected man in town. So yeah, he builds communities constantly. That's kind of part of his whole career arc. So yeah, it's a perfect melding of what Justin was doing before the blockchain, and it just gave him opportunity to bring all his skills directly to bear right here and now.
so we were having a little chat just before we started here, and you were saying that the art is very much definitely all Josh, but sort of like all the technical side is JPEG. Like, how? I mean, you guys have had the benefit of working together for quite some time, but have you had to bring anybody else in at all? Have you been able to keep it mainly between the two of you?
No, we've got a
Yeah, we
couple more friends. Yeah, Justin, tell me about Cyber Pickle. We've got a few more people that are integral to our project.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, in identifying people who could help us with the minting process and then also just the dev side of things, I we talked with some really, really great people, a lot of people that folks would know, and the people that we really, really were excited to partner with was a group called Cyberpickle. And I'm sure everybody probably knows FenceMaker, very, very big mentor in the space. And he recommended these folks to us. And Matthew and Alexander have been an absolute dream. We, were able to redo our website. We were able to really get some, I think, really innovative Discord tools as well. So the dev side of things has been, really, really exciting to discover people who we believe are going to be amazing partners, into the future that can help us build not just the mints, but the additional things that we want to bring to the community, that will, surprise and delight. So I was tasked with, identifying those folks and bringing them on. And, just like anything else in Cardano, it's like, I'm always surprised. I'm never surprised, but I'm always pleasantly like, you know, I guess the amount of talent that is in this space is just immense. And you know, it just, the more people I meet, the more impressed I get.
Yeah, I mean, sort of like I'm about as far away as technically savvy as most people in this space, but the networking effect from just being around and talking to people has been absolutely amazing for me. And for anyone that hasn't heard the name Cyberpickle before, they have an incredibly good reputation for mints and managing everything that goes on around that. So yeah, like definitely a good choice there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we felt
absolutely. And
blessed.
yeah, very much so. And they are the most responsive people that some of the most responsive people I've ever met in my professional life. So being able to get an answer, get back with people, which is very important to both of us. That is just a sign of professionalism and something that they take a lot of pride in. So we really can't sing their praises enough. And if the people in this space, come over to our server, they get on the whitelist. There are a few things that you have. There's a few different options that we give people. We're also doing a bunch of giveaways and other servers as well. I believe that the wallet verification system and the ability to check it is pretty novel and really quite good, and it's some of the best I've seen so far. And so we're, not just the art, but we're also trying to bring something innovative and much more easy, to the space as well, because we want minting, to be easy. And whitelisting and verification and those types of things. So partnering with those guys really helped, in some senses, hit the easy button on the dev side.
Yeah, made it a smooth operation.
Yeah, for sure. Ooh, sorry about that. So, a little bit about this drop that you got coming up. You said it was like a key holder, like community token type of thing. You were saying?
Yeah, our first mint is actually a founder's token. We're calling it a founder's key, and it's basically your membership card to the Hoffine Horror Society. And so if you have this, you will have pre-sale access and discount pricing on every monthly drop from the After Dark My Suite project, my main body of work for this. But if you have it, you also get a free NFT every other month from another project of mine called the Horror Portrait Series. And so we're trying to make sure that if you have this, it just keeps rewarding you every month, like you're on a super Groupon or something. So when we drop this founders token, it really is like the launching pad for everything else that's coming out over the next year.
Yeah, that sounds pretty hot.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're excited about it. And it comes immediately with a free claim. Like the very first image from the 12 image series of After Dark My Suite comes with it. So it gets your collection off and running right away.
Oh wow, that's awesome. So, have you released a mint price yet?
I
we
think we're
haven't.
trying to save it until the last second just to see
Oh
where the
yeah, yeah,
market's
yeah. I wasn't
at.
I wasn't trying to jump the gun on that. I just
No,
wasn't
we
sure if
have
that was.
numbers. We do have
The two
numbers in
questions
mind,
we
but
get are, yeah, the two questions we get are when mint and what price. But we can tell you when mint today. Um, when mint is, for our whitelisters, is going to be June 13th,
Oh wow,
and
awesome.
for public is going to be June 14th. So, we've looked at some, other projects. Obviously, Overexposed did a fantastic job, when it came to, whitelist mints and, the sort of whitelist mint and then the public mint the next day. Other projects like Block Owls, just have done a really, really great job of keeping those 2 days separate, and really giving people who put in the work and win the giveaways, that first access. And so, we're still determining the final supply because we really do want to get as many people into this society as possible. But we'll be closing the whitelist at some point in the not too distant future. Um, and then whatever we don't, whatever's left over from the first day will go roll over into the public day.
Yeah, that's cool.
Leftovers.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, when I'm looking around at projects, I like seeing a decently large gap between whitelist mint and public mint, just because technical things have to happen, and it also gives teams a chance to fix any errors that might have cropped up unexpectedly as well, rather than just rolling from one into the other and it being one massive hype ball that's ready to fall into pieces.
No, and that, it's a good point. If we were doing a PFP drop where there was a large amount of meta data and the opportunity for, I think, more of those types of errors to happen, our metadata is going to be very simple. We're going to have three different rarities. So we are going to have rarities for this founder's token, the founder's keys. We're going to have three different rarities and three different pieces of music, but there's not going to be a whole heck of a lot separating those three. So we believe, and with our conversations with Cyberpickle, they believe too that it's going to be a very straightforward minting process. So obviously, like if there are any issues, we will address those and be very transparent about it. But we really don't anticipate it. And given my background with as many projects as I have minted and collected and viewed, and I've seen how the sausage is made, in real time sometimes. We have a high amount of confidence that a whitelist mint date on one day and then the next day it being public will work for this type of project.
Yeah. So the founders token itself, is that in the same vein as some of the photos, or is it something that you might not quite expect to see?
It incorporates the photos, but it is a little bit of a different beast. We had to hire an animator to help put it all together, so it is a little different.
Oh, so it's animated as well then.
The founder's token is, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, we we
Fancy, I
we have a
know.
little bit of a preview. Our preview that we put up on Twitter and in our announcements, where it kind of gives a little glimpse. But we're going to be releasing final art sometime this week. We still have one music track that we need to finalize on one
Finalize,
of the
yeah.
pieces. Yeah, and once we do that, we'll release the art and we'll show everybody what they'll be buying. And,
Oh,
we really feel like it's a really, really cool way to represent not just what the society's all about, and but also what they'll be collecting throughout season one.
so season one is one drop every month.
Sometimes two drops in a month, but there's definitely at least one new After Dark My Sweet image every month. And the After Dark My Sweet images are the ones that deal with childhood fears. So 12 of those, one a month for a year, but then we add in 6 to 8 more on top of that.
Yeah,
And
that's.
so
Oh, go on.
the sorry about that, but the After Dark My Sweet will be the public mints. And then the claims will be the portrait series, as Josh has talked about. So those claims will be for whitelist first. And then if there is any supply left over, because we know that there will be a reality where people buy the key and not everybody's going to claim it, because these will not be airdrops. These will be very, very low transaction fee claims um, through a minting process. So we know that there's going to be some amount of supply left over. So we will free up that supply for people who want to buy into um, the portrait series as well.
Very nice. And how many images are in the portrait series?
I think we're releasing 5 of those, but we have 2 hodler events that may or may not include even more work from that project.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and the hodler events actually, that's something that's really cool. That's meant for people to for our collectors to collect, the pieces that we're putting out, and if they hold, along with the key, they will have access to a piece that only they can mint. And we're also toying with the idea of those being burn events as well. So the ability to actually mint it and either hold it or you can burn it for a physical print that's sent to you.
oh, physical prints is something that is going to get people's juices running, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we've been doing a lot of physical print giveaways in our Discord because that is how Josh has made a living. I mean, it's like the only way to really, he hasn't been able to sell digital images in the past, right? And so prints at horror conventions and through his website, that's been the bread and butter. And we certainly don't want to get away from that. We want to make sure that that is available for people to collect as well, because we know that, it's great to have, to be a collector, to be an NFT collector, but sometimes you want something that is, you know, 2 feet by 3 feet on your wall um, to showcase.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you can turn your living room into your very own art studio at that point.
Mhm.
I put so much crazy detail into the photographs that seeing a large print sometimes is the only way to get the full effect.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to talk to you about some of the processes that you've had to go through to make these photos, because I mean the detail and everything is just absolutely blows my mind.
Thanks.
Whether it's the prosthetics or the overall surrounding, or especially like the lighting in some of them, like being told that it takes you months to set some of these up is completely believable. Like it's almost one of those subjects that's so big you don't really quite know where to start with the first question. But sort of like, how many people does it typically do some of these photos typically involve in creating? Because obviously prosthetics and everything else going on, it's many different skills.
Yeah, the project and the work evolved over time, but for the first many years, probably the first 7 years, it was really just me by myself. And I would do all the sets and the costumes and everything myself. They were only family members, including my own daughters, that were being used as models. And so it was very much a private enterprise. But by the time Justin comes along and I have a fan base and Kickstarter exists, we started doing projects on an even larger scale. And I had, in the meantime, befriended a special effects artist named J. Anthony Kozar, who's kind of become a big deal in his own right. He just did the most recent Candyman movie. He
Oh,
worked on Fargo, the TV series, Lovecraft Country. He's getting bigger and bigger credits. But when we met, he was still just kind of starting out. But I could tell right away that he was a genius and that he was uh, top 10% of the makeup artists probably in America. And he was just in his early 20s. And so we got to be pretty good friends, and I started writing projects specifically to do with Anthony so that I could get his special effects in front of my camera. So once I met Anthony, more and more I handed off all kinds of special effects duties over to experts. But I still do all the sets, primarily the costumes myself, and um, I do all the photography. I don't have any lighting assistants or anyone on set to help with the photography. It really is just getting everyone costumed up and put into makeup that requires a small army sometimes to make it look perfect.
yeah, that I can believe.
A
But
good
the
example of
smaller
that.
the smaller the better, I think. I never want an extra person on set.
The thing that I want to make sure that everybody in the AMA will do is just go over to joshuahoffine.com, and he has a link. I believe it's at the bottom of the website,
Very
toolsin.com.
bottom.
And that blog is a very, very detailed, just as detailed as Josh's photos, a very, very detailed look at the making of these pictures. And he has done such a good job of chronicling the process and the details and the philosophy behind it. You can just see like how much time and effort it takes because it's documented, and it's and sometimes piece by piece, especially with Last Stand. I mean, that post might take you 30 minutes to work through because there's just so much information. And um, it was, I mean, we're talking about I don't know how long it took your cousins to construct that room, but it was, every
Yeah.
single detail in that room was, thought about and picked over. And the carpet, and even down to the details. I'll tell a little story. That day, we had carpet, we had shag carpet down. And that day, when Josh was looking through the camera, he was like, the carpet looks too clean. Do you remember this, Josh?
No, but it sounds like me complaining that we
Yeah.
have to go in there and fix it.
Yeah, and you're just like, it looks too clean. And so we all started,
Oh yeah, I put everyone on there
yeah,
and they
and
just
so we
started
started.
shuffling around. I
Well, we
forgot about
shuffled
that.
around, but we also started. We paused it for a little bit because we were like, okay, well, like it doesn't look right, so we have to do something. And so what we started to do is we took this brown spray paint, and we started just
Oh
giving it a
yeah.
light coat of spray paint. And then, after about 10 minutes, it looked like, a dirty room that somebody had been living in. So even up to the moment where we're going to be shooting, Josh doesn't settle. And I think that that's the thing that, like, if you're a collector, what you're going to be collecting is something that, as much as I love PFPs, and I love the type of work that exists in this space, Josh's work is just different. I mean, this is something that is physical, that takes a ton of time and effort to put together. But we're also, and Josh is working on this right now. We're building in new rarities to each one of the photos, so there is even more collectability. These aren't just one of ones. You're not just buying a copy of a one of one. You're buying, uh, uh, pictures that have new rarities in them that he's working on. So there's new stuff to be discovered in them.
So,
Yeah.
so I was like, how do you go about the process of, what's the process look like from thinking, right, okay, it's I need to come up with a new, a new picture. Uh, you know, where do you go from there? or
The
even
images,
series, like it's
yeah, the images tend to arrive to me fully formed. And so they'll just kind of pop in my head. And if it's a strong image, it won't leave me. I'll just sort of be nagged by it. And if it's just an image that I'm walking around with, I feel compelled to start working on it. And so I don't really do drawings beforehand. And I have a good reason for that. But I just start with a very simple description of what the photograph is going to be. And because I know what I'm trying to create, I have a very specific vision in my mind. It's really just going around in the real world and trying to find all the bits and pieces that will match what it was I pictured in my head. And so it's just a long pursuit of trying to match a mental picture with the right props, with the right room. You're lucky if an idea can be done in location, but sometimes a set has to be built from scratch or the idea can't be accomplished. And Jeffson already kind of commented on how I'll keep working on things even on set. I've done a few very dramatic, we got to start over moments in some of my photo shoots because I didn't think what we were doing was good enough. But the reason I don't make drawings is drawings tend to concretize the images a little bit too much, and I like to stay a little bit loose and be open to new ideas, new suggestions, anything in the moment that will be better than what I had been planning beforehand. And so I try to stay loose, even though I have a very specific vision. It's like making a film in many ways, though. Once you bump up against reality and you start problem solving, uh, Usually you have to come up with a solution, and if you're lucky, and most times it plays out this way, the solution is a better answer than what you would have done had there not been a problem to solve. And once I get all the pieces together, we only shoot one day. I do tend to shoot for hours. A lot of it's just getting the light right, but I also know that out of 1,000 frames, one frame is going to be a little bit better than all the others. And it's that specific little magical thing that's hard to guess that's going to happen that gives it life. And the only way to really make sure you've got it is to shoot as much as is possible. I literally will wear my performers out. I don't stop shooting until they don't seem like they can go any further. And then when I get all that done, I take it home and I sift through the mountain of footage and I look for that perfect one. And then I take that into Photoshop and I make sure that that perfect frame is as perfect as I can possibly make it. And if it's a really hard photograph where certain things can't be all photographed at once, like in Last Stand, there's a shotgun going off right next to a toddler. Well, I couldn't really do that safely. And so everyone did their part, and then the toddler was put on set all by herself and photographed, and then the two were kind of combined in Photoshop. Because she was on the actual set, the lighting's the same, the focus is pulling in the same place. You would never know that those were two photographs put together, but that's the only way you can kind of approach some of these things safely and realistically. But the goal always is, I'm a photographer, not a digital artist. I want to get it right in front of the camera. And so you just bend over backwards trying to make it work.
So, speaking of wearing out your performers, I mean, some like going back to the prosthetics and everything like that. Some of them are incredibly detailed and obviously take a large amount of time to put on somebody. What's the most that somebody's had to endure for one of your photos so far?
There's two answers. One is my friend Bob Barber, who was my star model. I used him over and over again. He would suffer through some really hard shooting conditions. We have a photograph called Keyhole where he's standing there with an axe in his hand over a victim, and all of us outside of the camera frame are wearing coats and gloves and hats because it's freezing in that house. But Bob had to stand there for an hour just shivering, and he has
Ooh.
no body fat, so it was really hard on him. So sometimes it was just the heat or the cold or the amount of fake blood, like it would be uncomfortable. But the hardest one on everyone was a photograph called Innsmouth, and this might have been our biggest project.
Mm.
And you have Doug Jones, who's I guess best known for working with Guillermo del Toro. He's a soup performer. And he was our star, and he's being attacked by all these fish people. And so Anthony Kozar and his team made, I think, 2 dozen highly detailed masks and gloves for these performers to wear. But to make sure that they looked perfect, Anthony minimized the size of the air holes. And so what happened
Ooh.
was everyone got suited up basically with a latex condom over their heads and they could not breathe. And yet they were required to stand and perform and hold their poses uh, for 2 or 3 hours. And Justin was there. He just about tapped out. People were sweating hard. A couple people almost passed out. And it was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that the makeup is so hard. But we just kind of muscled through it. Everyone everyone kind of just put on their rocky attitude and got over the hump. But that was a real tough one just because of how detrimental it was to everyone's comfort and even their ability to breathe.
Yeah, I mean that's commitment to the cause right there.
That was that
Lots
was a
of
that
people
was a
suffer
really
for
yeah.
my art.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it seems kind of fitting almost, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I try to make sure everyone's having fun. Almost everyone is a friend or a
Yeah.
family member. Everyone's a volunteer. So you have to be very delicate, but you know, everyone's into the work. And maybe because they see how hard I'm trying, like everyone just rises to the occasion and gives it their all. I've always been across the board impressed and extremely grateful for what people have been willing to do for me.
Do
I
you
think
think?
also too, real quick, just because I've been there, when you have a set, when you have a star, when you have all of this, you're getting suited up. I really think it's akin to like being like a stunt performer or something. Like people
Yeah.
feel like, they need to, like, they're in it to win it. And that's definitely, like he mentioned. I mean, yeah, it was hard. I mean, those masks were tight, and it was, and we were getting dizzy. But you know, being dizzy for a couple hours, then we all go out to dinner, you know, and we have a good time after, have a couple drinks and, just laugh about it. So all worth it.
And the people involved, they're not professionals. They're not models going on to another photo shoot next week. This is for some of them a once in a lifetime occasion to dress up and be photographed like this. So they really do give it their all. It's like a Christmas present in some
Yeah.
ways, even though it's a very cruel one. And I tell people up front how hard it's going to be, but you just don't care. You're like, yeah, I want to be in one. I want to be in one. Okay, come on down, suffer
Well,
with me, my friends.
funnily enough, my next question was going to be if if you think it's possible that at some point in the future you might be able to allow a lucky member of the Hoffine Horror Society to take a role in helping out with one of these pictures.
An interesting, cool idea. We definitely did that with the Kickstarters. Some of the big prizes would get you down on set or in front of the camera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the community here would absolutely love that. I mean, even as somebody that's not so into horror himself, I would be down for that.
Oh yeah.
I'd be down for that.
It's very different when you're invited. I got a story. My mother-in-law, when I first started doing this work, was deeply offended by it. She thought it was just awful, and she sat me down even at one point, intervention style, to let me know that I could be using my talents for better things than this. And I took it, and I understood her concerns, and then I asked her if she wanted to be in one. And she said, yes, yes, absolutely, right away. And she became the clown behind the sheet and balloons. And so,
Oh,
it's one thing to be
that's cool.
offended, but you may not like horror, but if someone says you want to die in my movie, people want to go for it. That sounds like a good time.
True. True.
So, how long is it taking you to, or have you completed all the pictures in the series that you're going to be releasing after the Founders Token yet, or is that still an ongoing project?
The Childhood Fear series, After Dark My Sweet, I more or less consider complete. And it's only because they were always my own daughters and nieces and nephews in the photographs, and they kind of aged out of it. And to try and do those same setups with a child that doesn't know you very well, I would be very concerned about how they felt about it. It's one thing when, the kids know you and love you and trust you, and they were
Yeah.
there the whole time you were making the monsters, and I would place other family members as the monsters. But if you're to try to do that with someone else's 4-year-old, I can't really guarantee that they won't be negatively impacted by it. So once my own children kind of aged out, I thought, well, it's time to move on to other horror subjects. Although children still kind of show up, it's usually a special occasion if I can get, you know, a young one in front of the camera again. It's hard to do safely.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't even
But
considered the mental health aspect for putting a 4-year-old in some of your photos. To be honest.
you know what? That's where the blog came from, that behind the scenes blog. Because when I first released the work and it went viral, the only thing I said was these are real photographs and these are real children. And I was hit with an avalanche of hate mail and people accusing me of child abuse and threatening to report me. And there was a very strong negative reaction. And a lot of people also were a little confused as to whether these were real photographs. Sometimes people would even confuse them for paintings because of how polished they are. So once I put up the blog, it was both to show how the photographs were actually what I said they were, photos, but also that you could see the kids were just fine and that they were laughing and that they were enjoying themselves and that they weren't abused. And I would go into detail explaining who these kids were. Like, I'm dad, like, they're okay. And all the hate mail dried up. But that blog was started mostly just out of necessity because people thought I was a monster. And if you're in a movie production and you have children in a horror movie, everyone gives you the benefit of the doubt that they were treated safely and professionally. But if you're just a guy with a
Yeah.
camera taking pictures in his house, you don't have the same benefit of the doubt. I could be any kind of creep. But
Yeah, it
once the
does get
blog went up,
sinister,
everyone saw it was
suitably
okay.
sinister quite quickly, doesn't it?
And I didn't mind. I kind of liked being thought of that way. I'll be honest at first, like, oh, good, I really got them. Like, they're scared to even meet me now. But in the end, I did. I thought I got to show people what I'm doing. And the blog ended up becoming as popular as anything else. Like, seeing how it was done got as many eyeballs as the original work.
I think Josh just, kind of like liking this to crypto. I mean, like Josh was doing permissionless stuff back in starting in 2003, just this idea of like, he just needs to do it, he wants to do it and he didn't ask anybody for permission, which is I definitely think like the ethos of the space that we're in.
Yeah, Rebel Yell.
So, question that's popped up in NFT chat, which anyone, if you've got any questions, fire them into NFT chat, and I'm monitoring that. But will the NFTs be in 4K resolution?
I don't know the answer to that, Justin. Do you?
They will be in as big a resolution as we can get them. So you will definitely be able to see a high amount of detail. And if you want to print them as well, you'll be able to print them in detail. But obviously, like the prints that we will be selling and that we will be um, burning or we'll be making available for shipping with the HODL series, the burns, will be the absolute best quality. So yeah, there is definitely a way to get a really high resolution image in there. But there are limits to that as well.
Cool. I think it's fairly safe to say we shouldn't need to make too clear that all commercial rights are going to be reserved by yourselves, I assume.
Oh yeah, the copyright doesn't leave
Yeah,
me, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I know people print my work off. It's not as nice as what I do myself, but I know it happens. I've seen school lockers, I've seen cubicles and refrigerators filled with my work, and they look over like, "Oh, I'm sorry." It's like, it's okay. I'm glad they
We've
like the
also
work.
we've also seen I mean, and I've seen this, Josh has seen it a lot more, but I have walked around a horror convention before and then seen his work that was clearly not, it was altered. I was like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
where'd you
that,
get
that
that?
gets a bit more awkward
And then,
quickly.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
well,
not
and
the
Josh was
same.
at
That
this,
makes me angry.
Josh was at the same convention and he hadn't seen it yet. I was like, you should go over to booth 382 and talk to them because, and what's funny is those people generally sometimes they don't even know where that stuff came from. It just sort of like is like spidered out and across the internet and come into their lives. So it's a little bit strange sometimes how this stuff gets into people's possession as well.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
only when people are pretending to have made the artwork and will try to resell
Yeah,
it as stock photography or something like that. That's bothersome.
yeah.
I had a band once that licensed my photograph couch from me, and I was very happy to have them use it for their album cover. And then they got a cease and desist letter from another band who thought that they had purchased that image rights, but they had purchased it from some imposter, and they actually had
Oh,
spent a lot of money on a fraud. And so their
oh,
cease and desist letter was going to a band that had found the real me. And the irony being that the ripoff artist had charged them like 20 times what I did the actual band that came to me directly.
yeah, that sounds messy for everyone involved, to be honest.
I think it happens to all artists though, so it's just part of the internet age.
Yeah, I
hey
mean,
Josh, real
it's kind of funny because when you're surfing around the internet, like a picture will pop up, and you don't know where it's come from. You'd be like, "Oh, that's really cool," and
Yeah,
so somebody will right click save it, and then they'll send it over Facebook Messenger to their friend and say, "Look, this is really cool," everything like that, and then it will
yeah.
spider web out, and there's no way of ever tracking it back down to the original artist.
yeah. I can only
Uh,
imagine how much fun it is to be a bootlegger and then to have Justin or my wife find you. So, we're like, oh, he's here. He's actually here. You might want to hide that.
Yeah, the wife being definitely the more scary of the two. Um,
Yeah, she's the muscle.
she is the muscle. Hey Josh, real quick, what reminded me when you talked about the band, sometimes it's not as obvious when somebody comes to your website, the types of work that you've done and the types of institutions that have licensed it. Real quickly, can you kind of go through sort of like the a list of like some of the magazines and some of like the institutions that have like licensed your work
Yeah,
for usage?
definitely.
Oh, gosh, there's a lot. The one I'm most proud of is the National Opera of Paris. They
Oh,
had licensed some of my work for a production of Hansel and Gretel, and I bragged about that for weeks. It was like the National Opera of Paris, my friend. But but there have been a lot of different companies. Sony, Busch Gardens, like some haunted attractions, so lots of album artwork, some book covers. Um, I don't know. I'll be honest, I do commercial work, but it's such a side hustle that unless it's a great big one that I know will impress my parents, I kind of always focus on the idea that I'm just this crazy guy working out of his basement and I don't advertise too much how much stuff I do for money when most of what I show people is stuff I did for love. But there have been quite a few big opportunities and clients that have come across over the years.
so have you ever taken part in a documentary or a TV interview or stuff like that yourself?
Oh yeah, I did an interview with NPR. I also did one with the Canadian version of NPR. I think it's called CDC, I want to say. Um, London Times, the New York Times, Russian Playboy, the Atlantic, Esquire.
Russian Playboy.
Yeah, I went through the whole Eastern Bloc for Russian Playboy. There was Russian Playboy, there was Czechoslovakian Playboy, there was I forget them all. There are like five of them, and every country has their own version. And somebody did a big article on my work, and then it just spread from one Playboy to the next to the next. And so you had like a stack of foreign Playboys showing up at my door for a while to
I mean,
add to
again,
my
not
collection.
the sort of thing that I immediately think of when I think Playboy.
No, I know when people hear about it, I wonder if they think I'm shooting something else for them. But it's like, no, it's the same stuff. They just highlighted me as an artist. And what happened really when I came out online, it went viral because there was no such thing as horror photography. It was so novel. And especially the first images focusing on childhood fears, which were so universal that I think it's that combination of uniqueness and universality that just let it spread like wildfire for a few years. And I know most of it was online, but it did percolate into a lot of magazines, maybe 30 or 40 magazines, and a few other TV spots. I was on a show called Oddities. I was invited in for Good Morning America, but I was out of town and couldn't get there quickly enough. So
Oh.
every so often something will come up and I'm like, oh, yeah, that would really spread my word. But um, I don't know. I don't really have an agent. There's no marketing center. It's just me. So I don't know. I don't focus that much on it. When I really need help, I call Justin.
Well, he
Well, and
seems
I'm
to be
gonna,
making some good moves so far.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I
I'm gonna
think he's a
drop a
marketing
little,
genius.
yeah. Well, thank you. Uh, I'm gonna drop a little bit of like inside information as well, and this actually does lead into some of kind of like the long-term goals, not only for uh, the project, but also Josh. Um, when the Good Morning American thing happened, very soon after, um, Josh was contacted by the Rousseau brothers. Um,
Oh.
Yeah.
and I don't know if people know who the Rousseau brothers are, but they directed two kind of small films for Marvel Studios, Avengers Endgame and Infinity War.
Um,
Um,
it rings a bell.
have you,
Definitely rings a
yeah,
bell.
two small indie films, pretty low budgets, but and they basically were like, hey, like, what do you have? And they're still in contact, but the long-term goal for Josh, I mean, the reason why Josh created these mini scenes is, ultimately, like, filmmaking is where he wants to go. And we've been working on film projects also for a while now. Just him developing stories, me helping out, when I can. And ultimately, where we would like this to lead is to, potentially, partially fund or give even more exposure to be able to attract the funding, for a feature film or a series of feature films, of which Josh has multiple screenplays. So what I like to liken this to is being able to, like, if Guillermo del Toro hadn't hit and he was, basically taking all of his drawings and all the stuff that he's doing, turning them into NFTs to help, launch his film career. So I know that, um, like I said, it's a pretty cool thing that Josh has had a lot of contact with a lot of really um, talented folks who recognize his talent, and I really do think that he's right at that. He's ready to jump to that next stage. So that's also another reason why I'm really excited for Cardano and the collectors as well to get access to his work, before something like that could really hit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that something like that hitting would instantly turn every single copy into a collector's item with far-reaching outside of Cardano and blockchain in general, it just brings it completely to the masses.
Hope.
Did you know that there is a full-length feature film that's already been released on Cardano?
No, I
Um,
didn't know that.
I've not
Just
actually
came
seen
out.
it myself. It's called Toxica by a company called Serenity Films. Very nice couple based at, well, I think it's like a group of five of them based out of London. But yeah, like feature film releasing is already happening on Cardano. So if you ever get that far, feel free to remember that one and a nice little special edition there, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's
Josh
cool.
does have a short film that we worked on, and I helped raise funds to finish. So this is another story about him not, just settling. When I met Josh, he had been, um, I think, how long had it been since you like
Oh
shot
man,
that? It was like
2000
4 or 5
and
years.
2005, I think.
Okay,
2004
so
maybe.
I met you in 2009. And so then that basically you had shot and edited most of it together 4 years previous. And then it was another 4 years after that, or 3 years after that, when I think, or no, it was 4 years, 4 or 5 years after that, when we raised money to actually like finish it. So I think it was like 9 years later, the short film
Sounds
was
right.
done. Yeah, it was finished. And Black Lullaby is the short film. It's available on Vimeo, but it is definitely something that we would like to bring to Cardano as well. It might be something that is something that's minted, or it might be, a another claim. But I definitely think that that's, in the offing for season 2. So he does have film work um, that he wants to bring to the blockchain as well.
Very nice. I'll send you over contact details for the Serenity guys later if you like.
Yes, thank you.
So, um, how long has the series that I'm my memory isn't very great. The
The
childhood
childhood fear
feelings,
series?
yeah, childhood fears. How long has that been running now? Because obviously you said that your children have aged out a bit, so it does imply that it's been going on for a while, judging from some of the pictures.
Oh yeah, that's really probably my first body of work as a horror photographer. So those images were made between the years of 2003 and 2009. So they're already they've already got some age on them, but they're also probably because of that the most famous work I have. That's the work that went so viral that everyone from the National Opera of Paris to Good Morning America called me. So that's what I thought. If I'm going to bring out an NFT, let's bring out the big guns, the ones that everyone knows, that
Yeah,
everyone responds to.
I mean, and yeah, I mean, this is going to be taking place over a year with the other project that you're going on. with the other project that's been included in it. I'm assuming you've got ideas for further down the road already that you're probably not going to share with us.
I have
Oh, we got.
so many ideas. Yeah, I have the opposite of writer's block.
I mean, I'd be quite interested to hear some of the ideas that aren't going to make it, as weird as that sounds.
You know what? Today on Facebook, I posted an idea that I pitched to Universal
Yeah.
Studios for a commercial job, and they rejected it. But I really thought it was a fun idea. In this photograph, there's someone strapped to a medical chair, and they cannot move, and they have their mouth clamped wide open with like dental gear. And then the person is basically adorned with dozens of tarantulas crawling over him towards his pried open mouth. And I like the idea. I'll probably never get around to photographing it, but I have a drawer full of ideas like that where I'm like, oh, that'd be a good one. And I just sort of set it to the side. It's like, where am I going to find 50 spiders? I don't know, but maybe someday. And so I'll just slide it over. But yeah, I hope that once after the mint occurs, um, I'll be in a position where I can start making some new work, and maybe it'll be just for these people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody's going to really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd love to make some more.
uh, that photo makes me think of the movie The Dentist. Is the response from Frank P in chat?
You know what? I haven't seen The Dentist. Someone else made that comment on Facebook, so I think tonight I'm going to be watching it.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
dentist. What is
honestly,
that? What is
I
that? Yeah.
find your photos less horrifying than the idea of going to the dentist. So,
Well, I definitely tried to make them pretty so that you'll look at them longer. I like having disturbing subject matter, but they're not meant to be ugly. I want them to be friendly in a weird way so that you can hang out with them and enjoy them. I'm looking up The Dentist right now. I
It's
got to
got
see
a
this movie.
Corbin Burnson, and it was is directed by Stuart Gordon. The thing that also that I think I hope everybody like gets from our from the Discord is that we are big time horror nerds.
yeah,
So even if you don't want to like buy NFTs, right? Like it's like we want to build a community where people love to talk about horror movies and those types of things and really puzzle over. Josh, I actually just you saw Men, that movie Men this last weekend, and I just kind of posted like my thoughts of like what that crazy ending was, So like it's just a place for us to have fun too, Obviously, we want to sell some NFTs, but we also want to build a really like strong, sustainable community where if people
Yeah.
like just saw a movie, the first place they want to go is Hoffine Horror Society to talk about it, because they can't wait to like hear other people's thoughts, and Josh's thoughts and my thoughts, people who really are engaged and in love with that type of content.
Being
yeah,
on a Discord server is very new to me, but I'll be honest, I've really enjoyed it because it's so quickly a chat room about horror films when I'm online that I could just talk about this stuff all day long. It's been really fun because in real life I'll wear someone out with all my horror trivia knowledge before they want to keep going. It's like, oh, it's just it's chat. I can just keep going indefinitely. It's been a lot of fun finding other horror nerds out there.
that's cool. And you can have like community discussions where you're all like, okay, well, let's all go and watch this particular film this weekend. Then we can all get together on Monday and talk about it and what we liked about it, and where we think
Yeah,
the
It's a
sequel
great
might
idea.
go, and and make community events out of everything, really.
yeah,
I
movie
think we
club.
should. That's a great idea.
Yeah, gotta happen.
So what other kind of activities are you running in Discord just to keep everybody interested and interacting in the lull before the mint?
Yeah. Well, I can answer that, Josh.
Yeah.
We've got, there's a couple different things that are going on. Obviously, we have our whitelist activities. And then we have, different channels. One about horror movies. We have horror quotes that Josh has come across that he really likes. We have horror trivia. We have a photography section where he, discusses his photos and he, kind of gets into detail there. He actually just posted the one that didn't make it, and it's kind of an explanation of that. we're actually Brightleaf Labs is going to be hosting a trivia night this Thursday. I believe it's going to be at 6 p.m. UTC. This is a little alpha for you all, but and they're going to be giving away one of their NFTs to the winner. Josh has developed the questions, and that all that information is going to be shared after the AMA. So we would love to do things like that and continue to just build this community. We're going to be revealing our art. We have a YouTube interview tonight that we're going to be recording with the Freedom 35ers, a really great YouTube channel
Yeah,
about the
they're a
CNC
good
NFT
bunch
space.
actually.
Great bunch. Yeah, I love their work. I love their live streams, and I just love how they're collectors, just like folks like Cardano Thor, right? And the CNFT news team. Just like that's what makes this space so great is the community. So, um, we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to do giveaways, and we just want to make it really fun. We want to, and we'll, definitely take ideas and, like the idea, of kind of coming back and having a discussion like, hey, go see this movie this weekend and let's come in and talk about it on a certain day. Um, I love that idea. It's a great idea.
I wish we'd done it for men. There's a movie that needs a lot of discussion.
Oof. Yeah, highly recommended, but boy, you will, it is a mind fuck.
And thankfully, we're not monetized on YouTube yet, so you're not getting us demonetized.
That's right. That's right.
Oh dear. Um,
Um, one other thing I can talk to is the season one. One of the things that's sort of like further down on our roadmap, that's in development is that one of the when came to Josh and unless you had a question,
no,
Toolson, I
no,
didn't
no,
want
go
to
for it.
jump the gun. One of the things that um, we want to acknowledge is the fact that it's like, okay, well, Josh has this work, right? But then talking about the new work, and right now, what we're doing is we're focusing on getting all the rarities done for all the different permutations of all the different photos that Josh has done in the past. But then the next thing that we're going to be focusing on is PFP. And what we want to do is we want to do an all photographic PFP project um, that is,
Ooh.
not put together um, programmatically, but is done, mostly in camera and just redressing. So we're not exactly sure the exact methodology of that, but I mean, like when you talk about an all photographic PFP, it's a pretty rare thing. But you can see things like obviously Josh's photo, his PFP right now in Discord, right? Or my PFP in the Hoffine Horror Society server. He has other things on. If you go to joshuahoffine.com and scroll all the way down, he actually created 10 types um, way back in the day of some of the monsters from the Innsmouth photo that look like they're just kind of normal people, but they're in these monster masks, so an all photographic PFP is definitely something that we want to do to kind of culminate at the end of season one to give
Yeah.
collectors even more reason to hold the founders keys.
Yeah, we're already getting feedback in chat saying I would rock that PFP.
Yeah, it's going to
Yes.
be the grand finale. That's the big one.
Yeah, that's that.
So
Yeah,
that's a lot of new work. So what that would represent a lot of new work, right? And that would be singular and um, you know, maybe not obviously themed around certain things, but I would argue, Joshua, that that would be your probably your biggest project to date, from a photography standpoint.
I'm looking forward to it. I know exactly what I'm going to do.
see, that's what people like to hear when they hear biggest project you're ever going to. Like, no, yeah, I got it. It's fine.
Yeah.
No worries on that one.
I mean,
Two
the
hundred thousand
execution will be
dollars
a
later.
challenge, but I it'll be fun. I think that most of my summer and autumn is probably going to be figuring that project out.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
I
gonna.
don't want to get too much into the business side, but obviously, you have budgets for these photos that you're doing. how much do they vary depending on what's going on? Because obviously building sets or hiring location, everything like that. Like it can be a significant drain on a lot of companies. Like how and I guess more of what I wanted to get to is how much of the time do you spend being the artist, and how much time do you spend being the project manager?
It's funny, in my mind, they're inseparable. Like they just go together. You can't execute the project without directing it from scratch, really. But I would say budgets usually are around, I don't know, it's hard to do something for less than $1,000
Yeah,
when it comes to special effects. And this is with everyone working for free, mind you. If
yeah,
I
yeah,
paid everyone what they were supposed to be paid, if I brought in a professional crew, I think my photographs would spiral into the tens of thousands of dollars. But as it is with everyone working for free, I usually spend every penny I raise just on the sets and everything from the camera, including, and most importantly, the special effects. So I don't know. I think Innsmouth is probably the most expensive. And if I remember right, the Kickstarter raised over, shoot, I don't know if I do remember right. Justin, was it 20,000 on that one? It might have been.
Well, I can look it up.
I know the book Kickstarter was over 40,000, but I think that one we probably spent easily, $15,000 in just the special effects. And then you have
Yeah,
to
let
hold a
me
lot back to make all the prints and to deliver all the
tw
goods and shipping.
yeah,
But
25, yeah, $25,000. But here's the reality. The reality is, if you were paying everybody's rate,
yeah,
that project would have cost over $100,000 easily,
yeah,
easily. Last Stand, we raised, I think it was like $12,000 um, for that, and let me just double check that. Um, and we raised it pretty, yeah, $12,000, and we raised it pretty quickly. I think our initial goal was like 9,000, and we raised that in like 3 days. But that one, I've been that was a $50,000 budget easily too, right? But everybody just basically works for free. All of the, it's like all of the materials are, you know, donated basically, but basically Josh wants to make sure that people don't lose any money, you know, but
yeah.
you have to donate your time.
so I'm half project manager and half cult leader. So I just I just rally the troops and pour the Kool-Aid.
Well, it might be a cult now, but I suspect that it won't be long before it will be an army.
Think
I
of what
mean,
we could do.
20 or 30,000 person discords are very commonplace in the NFT world. So that's the size of a lot of countries' small armies at this point.
If things got that big, I would go make a movie without talking to a single financier. I would just do it completely based off this project.
So what next year then? Yeah.
Next year, that sounds like a good goal.
Yeah,
Because I
could be
mean,
really,
it's
it
the way
could
I
be
see
really
it, you're
big.
likely to get to that mark probably sooner than you think.
Mm, I hope so. That would
Is
be
how
dreamy.
is how I'll phrase that.
All right. Well, ToolSin said it first.
So yeah, like unfortunately, my friends call me a jinx on any project that I mint. So I don't know how much notice
I
you
know.
want to take on that one,
It just,
but
yeah, so now when we get off this call, Josh is going to be like, so when are we going to get to like 20,000, like he said? I've been trying to like, you know, meter expectations, even though I mean we're at, it's like we're at basically 2,000 people in our Discord with, not releasing any art yet. But besides obviously all of Josh's art. But
yeah.
so I appreciate that, Tolson. Thank you. That'll make my job a lot easier.
Well, it'll either make it easier or it's going to kill you off completely. So
That's right. That's right.
I'll either take credit or apologise as required.
Exactly.
So yeah, if anyone else has any questions that we've missed or overlooked, feel free to post them in an NFT chat, and I'll make sure the guys get a chance to ask them. Sorry, answer them. I think we've got most of it at this point, though. I think.
Think so.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't think of something now, I mean, please jump in general chat. and or the Ask Joshua channel, and ask whatever you want. I mean, from a CNFT standpoint, from a collecting standpoint, from a roadmap standpoint, I can
Even from
definitely
an art
answer any.
standpoint.
Yeah, and then from an art standpoint, obviously Josh can answer obviously anything, but um, if you want to talk nitty gritty NFT stuff too, you can definitely ask those questions as well.
Yeah, I mean, and I always remember the perfect question is about 10 seconds after I've clicked the end call button. So,
That's right. Well, and one thing I do want to state, and it's just something that you'll find in the general chat, is that it's like one of the things that we're really trying to do is we're really trying to build this project from Discord and other communities first. I've seen a lot of hype, a lot of uh, just hype machines go in overdrive, and a ton of people just dump into a server right away. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I think that you get a lot of that degen energy pretty quick, um, and there's a lot of crazy tasks and grinding and all sorts of like nutty stuff, and like we really wanted to like design this project differently so that it was very easy. It was a lot easier to achieve whitelist so that you wouldn't see that same grinding. We wanted authentic conversations. We didn't want people to spam, strangers to get on a whitelist. And we wanted to make sure that a lot of different uh, projects, in other Discord communities had access to whitelist as well. And we found that that's been really successful for us. So, we're definitely going to be engaging Twitter and that strategy next. But we really want to create a project that is, people, they want to get in, they want to hold, and they want to collect. Because this is just year one of this project, and I'm doxxed. Obviously, Josh is doxxed. Um, the guys from Cyberpickle are doxxed. I mean, the entire team. All these folks that we work with. We're in this for the long haul.
yeah, I mean, the other really nice thing for people looking to invest and looking into docs projects, that this isn't a doxing that it could be somebody taking off, saying, oh, I'm this person over there, there's that person's LinkedIn, which nobody will ever send a message to anyway. You're
Right.
you're 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 a household name almost. It's it's like the next level of being doxed. It's
He's
Yeah.
had many stories written about him. Mostly good.
so yeah. Thinking that we're starting get towards a close. Um, I would like to say though, thank you both very much for coming along. Um, I
Thanks for
know I know
having us.
you saw it as us doing you a favour, but honestly, it's you guys doing us a favour. It's been wonderful having you.
Oh, my pleasure. It was really good talking to you.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, and what you guys do for the community, these AMAs are just insane. They're awesome. Brad, the entire team, the CNFT Tools website, the wallet evaluation tool that you guys have, the verification stuff that you offer all the other servers. I mean, it's a foundational element. So, I mean, hats off to you all as well.
Thank you very much. It's yeah, the guys put a lot of hard work in, and then I get to sit here and take credit for it.
Same.
But yeah,
Exactly.
but yeah, if you're one of the unlucky people that couldn't make it here to listen to live, and you're watching this on YouTube,
Yeah.
please feel free to make sure you give it a like and a share, and if you're feeling particularly awesome, subscribe as well. And yeah, spread the word on this amazing project.
Yeah, and follow Hoffine Horror on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, please follow Hoffine Horror, and you can also follow me at JP Gardner to get information about the project and just cool other stuff.
Yes, I'll have the Twitter and the website in the links bit below.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Well, stay cool, you crazy ghoul.
Yeah, and thank you to all the people that's turned up to listen. This wouldn't happen without you guys either. So thank you to you guys as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Bye bye.
Cheerio, everyone.